Welcome to Business Reporter's Future of Financial Services and Banking campaign. I'm Rachel Hicks. Billions of people around the world lack access to financial services. Even with the rapid uptake of smartphone technology over the past decade, the populations of lower income countries in particular still experience significant problems sending and receiving cash. The reasons are multiple. The red tape in payment processing systems, the multiple steps for authentication, the expenses involved, urban-rural divides. So why aren't payment systems more inclusive? And how can they do more to address long-standing problems in processing payments and thereby meet the needs of the populations that have so far been left out? That's what we're talking about with Danelle Dixon, CEO and Executive Director of the Stellar Development Foundation. Good morning, Danelle.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Why is global access to payment systems so beneficial, Danelle?
Well, first of all, it should be a right and not a privilege. And today it's a privilege. And that's the unfortunate thing that we see, that there's so much fracture within the system on a global basis, so that it's not only difficult for one country as global payments to talk to another countries, it's also very difficult within the country to be able to do payments. It's just a very fractured system. And so therefore, the fact that it's a privilege, it means that there are a select few within that country that actually get access to the tools that are necessary to be able to effectuate those payments. And there are people all over the world who are trying to send payments back to and remittances back to their families because they're living outside of the country that they're in. And it's complicated and it's challenging and it costs them a lot of money and it takes a lot of time.
You've begun to paint a picture of the impact that it has on individuals and families. Could you just expand that a little bit more and tell us really what that impact looks like?
Yeah, billions of dollars are transferred from countries where people work to where their families live, back to where their families live, billions of dollars every year. And so when we can actually make this flow of funds so much simpler, so much more streamlined for an individual, it creates the opportunity to be able to garner more access to resources for those families. Women don't have access to the financial system in the ways that men do in geographies all over the world. It's mostly because of systematic issues, the fact that they don't have identification, they don't have collateral, they don't earn income, they don't have the ability to be able to travel maybe to the bank that they need to get to because it's outside of the region in which they live. So all of these things create this inequality. And yet the real downside to this is not just on the individual level, but it's also on the global, on the regional level. The GDP of these economies, when women are participating, increases dramatically. And it creates a really, really huge benefit for that whole geography.
And how does Stellar come to be aware of the scope and the nature of the problem in the first place?
Well, I think that, one of the things that, Jed McCaleb, who is our founder, one of the things that he focused on was the ease of use of email. Email became so simple for us to be able to send content and to send notes back and forth. And you could do it from one provider to another provider. You didn't all have to be on the same email provider to be able to have access to the content that is distributed amongst one another. That was an important innovation. And it's an innovation that could be leveraged so much more capably when you're thinking about money and you're thinking about financial infrastructure. The fact that today we have these fractures and a system that doesn't actually all speak the same language creates a lot of challenge and creates a lot of opportunity for innovation and change. And that's where Jed saw the opportunity.
You imply that inequality is bad for businesses and individuals. Why is that?
Thank you. That's a great question, because it's one of those things where over 200 million SMEs in emerging markets are actually excluded from the tools that they need to be able to conduct their business. They don't have access to credit. They don't have access to lending. They don't have access to the financial resources to be able to make their businesses successful. So it's not just at an individual level. These SMEs are so important because these are the businesses that are focused on the challenges and the problems in those regions, and they're going to solve those problems and those challenges. So in much the same way that I mentioned that women are actually systematically excluded from financial access, these businesses are too. But blockchain actually, and Stellar in particular, and the tools that are being built by these companies on top of Stellar allows them to be able to create some form of equality with these other businesses out there, because they can get access to credit, they can get access to capital, they can get access to these resources when they leverage these tools that are available to them.
So what would you say Stellar brings to the table?
It brings so many things. It's just phenomenal, the opportunities that not just the network itself brings, but that all of these like crazy, smart, innovative folks who build on top of Stellar bring. The fact that Stellar is an open, permissionless network allows all of these ideas and opportunities to be built on top of it so that we can deliver these into the financial ecosystem and to create real value for individuals and for businesses. The fact that we have scale, speed, and low cost is just a phenomenal opportunity for businesses who are trying to create really seamless transactions. If you think about one of the really important things for cross-border payments in particular, is that businesses can actually settle transactions within 10 seconds bank to bank. So we see this already happening today, for example, between Nigeria and Europe, with Tempo as the bank on the Europe side, and Nigeria, we have Cowry. You see these transactions that the block itself closes in 3 to 5 seconds, and then the money actually gets put from one bank account to the other bank account within 10 seconds, and we have finality and settlement. That's pretty amazing, and something that we really want to bring not just to these entities that are leveraging it today, but to everyone, so that we can actually create that global access to the financial system in an equitable way.
So perhaps you could just give us an example of a company, a type of company that would benefit from using Stellar for a transaction.
First, it's a really exciting one from our standpoint, because I mentioned that our mission is all about creating equitable access to the global financial system. And DStock is a company that actually, they're based in Liechtenstein. They've built this application that allows users to be able to purchase blue chip stock. Either a fractionalized interest or a full share of, for example, Apple stock. And they can do it from Vietnam, South Africa, all over the world. So you don't actually need to have the same access that was required before, which is you needed to be within the United States to be able to do this. So it's a pretty remarkable tool. I love it, what they've done. They've actually really focused on the consumer and made it really user-friendly.
Can you tell me, what will greater financial inclusion bring for businesses and individuals?
Yeah, it's a pretty great thing when you can think about like the true end result that you want. You know, our mission, as I mentioned, is all about creating equitable access to the global financial system. And it really, truly is at that global scale that we're thinking about. And I'm hopeful that we can actually achieve this mission. We have a 10-year arc that we focused on. And I would love to be able to say that we can achieve it during that time. And so the question is why? Why does that matter? It is one of those, you know, we talk about that saying that I think is coined here in the US a long time ago about a rising tide floats all boats. It's actually true. And we actually see that happen very specifically when you create this access to financial tools and to financial assets and that store of value for everyone. It brings up the GDP in every economy when you actually have women, when you actually have like these unbanked and these underbanked participating in the economy. It creates the ability for everyone to be able to purchase things, to bring value to the marketplace.
We look forward to seeing how this develops. Danelle Dixon, CEO and Executive Director of the Stellar Development Foundation, thank you very much for joining us today.
It was such a privilege. Thank you.